I'm very excited to speak here. I definitely feel honored to speak after these two amazing, important speakers. I definitely have big shoes to fill. I definitely have big shoes to fill. So if you don't know me, my name is Ori, and I'm 32 years old. And my story starts in the place that I have grown up in, which is a small village in the north side of Israel. As a young kid, I have to admit, it's connected to my story. My story is a little bit different from what we talked until now about the pandemic. As a young kid, I have to admit I wasn't so good at school. I was what the teachers love to call a hyperactive kid. And during most of my childhood, I was busy working in all kinds of physical jobs and driving and fixing my dirt bikes. As part of my unique character as a child, I used to work as a goat shepherd in a remote farm in my village, surrounded by shepherd dogs, both border collies and Asian shepherds. I took this love for dogs to a whole new level when I decided to join the army and try to be accepted to the OCEPS unit. Some of you probably heard about the unit, but for those of you who didn't, OCEPS unit is the K9 IDF Special Forces unit, in which the soldiers function as a dog handler and join other special forces unit in special operations. The reality of a dog handler is pretty independent. You operate as a small team, which includes you and your dog, and together you drive around bases and join all kind of special units and joining in their special operation. I was part of the attack squad. My dog Simiko was a 50 kilos Belgian Shepherd. That was what people love to call a hyperactive dog. Yes, he was very similar to his handler. We had an instant bond, and we used to be considered back then as one of the most busiest teams in the unit, and together we joined thousands of unique and complicated operations with almost every unit in the IDF. I prepared a small presentation, not too long, with too many information, but as you can see from the photos, you can see the presentation.
No, תעשה share screen.
One second. No, 1 second. Sorry. Share screen. Now you can see it?
Yeah, מעולה.
So as I said, the reality of a dog handler is pretty independent. You operate as a small team with your dog. I had an attack dog, a 50 kilo Belgian Shepherd, and part of my role in the army, it was simple, but it was with great responsibility. Whenever the force want to enter into a house, the first thing you need to do is to send a dog and give an indication to the force if the house is clear or not. You can imagine a force of 100 soldiers waiting outside a house, and the commander calls you to the entrance, and you need to send a dog and search the house for hostiles. And after the dog searches the house, and after he comes back, you are the authority to tell the commander if the house is clear or not. Literally, your bond with the dog and the way you can read his behavior can save soldiers' life. You have to be in full confidence in the dog, and whenever the dog comes back, you need to be sure that your dog searched the house and there is nothing in it. So as you can probably understand, I had an amazing service. It was unique and challenging with lots of responsibility. It all ends in 2008, April, 28th of April. I remember this day quite well. I was supposed to go out to a vacation just days before I was about to leave my unit for good and go to officer course. 3 hours before I left the base, my commander called me and asked me to go for a final last operation. Of course, I said yes. After 3 hours, I was ready with my dog and my gear in the Gaza border. This time, I joined the special patrol unit of the Giv'ati brigade. Our job was to search the surrounding of Bet Hanun area. If you can see, you see my arrow. You see my arrow. So we've been searching Bet Hanun neighborhood, and our mission was to find tunnels, which was supposed to be used by Hamas forces to cross the border into Israel and attack Israeli territories. It was a big operation. As you can see, we searched this area. While we were searching the small houses in the field, there were 2 companies of the Giv'ati brigade surrounding and covering us, something like 1,000, 1,500 soldiers, and 12 tanks protecting us from the northern Bet Hanun neighborhood. And I have to say, as a soldier, even though you are careless because you are very young, it felt very safe for me. After almost 16 hours of search, suddenly we saw 2 armed men going out of one of the small houses near us, and they started running away from the force. Me and the soldiers near me were the first ones to notice them. We started shooting at the direction, but we didn't see if we hit them or not. And then with the help of one of the tanks, we managed to kill them. What we didn't know was that firing at this man, we just exposed ourselves. And we exposed our location. We didn't have a minute to think about it, and immediately mortar bombs started flying around us. We quickly understood that we need to move, and when I was about to stand up and move to cover, I felt something happen to my leg, and suddenly I couldn't feel it. I fell to the ground, understanding that something had happened to me, and instantly called the medic. The medic was leaning down to check me, and then a bullet just flew just between us. And in this moment, we understand that somebody is shooting at us. Because I was not able to stand up, the other soldier had to carry me back to the border. My dog, which was trained to be completely apathic to other soldiers, suddenly felt that something is wrong. His immediate reaction was to attack the soldiers around me. He basically didn't let the medic treat me, and he didn't let the other soldiers evacuate me. And I needed to hold the 50-kilo Belgian Shepherd while people were shooting at us, and while the force needed to evacuate me. You can't see me because I'm not standing. Actually, I weighed something like around 90, 95 kilos. And with a 50 kilos Belgian Shepherd dog on me, it was really hard to carry me back to the border. They took me out to the border. The area is crossing. It's like 2 kilometers of running under fire. And finally, after 45 minutes of crazy under fire evacuation, we managed to get back to the border. And just then I started to feel the pain. While the soldier unloaded me to the ambulance, I realized that the dog cannot come with me. The last picture I remember was me handing the dog to one of the commanders, and while the ambulance door was closed, I saw the commander panicking and asking me, what should I do with him? And I just told him, listen, if he's doing something bad, just tell him no. And the door of the ambulance closed on me. and I was in so much pain, so the doctors gave me so many painkillers that the last thing I remember that's falling asleep in the ambulance. I was really worried about Simiko, my dog, but I couldn't do anything to check him, and I was really afraid he won't make it. I will stop the share the screen for a while. I woke up in the hospital, and first I woke up. I didn't understand what happened to me. I asked the doctor, and he told me that the shrapnel went inside my leg, and it got spread in my body. But I suffered from severe pains, and the most weird part was that the pain was in my stomach. Just before they were about to release me from the hospital, my beautiful and amazing mother, she insisted that some doctor will check me again. And one of the doctor, a really high-ranked doctor in the hospital, he used the stethoscope to listen to my stomach. And then they realized that my injury is much, much worse. It's not such a good demonstration, but I will show it either way. As you can see, what happened is there's a bullet. One second. Anyway, the demonstration is not working quite well. Anyway, what happened is that the bullets went straight inside my hip. He hit my bone and went all the way to my stomach. On the way there, the bullet ripped my intestines and did some severe damage inside my stomach. And the last thing I remember is somebody telling my mother that I'm not in a good situation and I need to get straight into the emergency room for a complicated surgery in order to stop my internal bleeding. And the first thing I remember from then, it was waking up almost 2 weeks later. It took me a while to understand what happened, but as soon as I understood, I just wanted to get back to normal, just going back to my life. As I told you, I'm a physical guy, and as such, I went straight to full-on physical rehabilitation. After 3 surgeries, 1 easy, but 2 really, really serious, total of 30 hours of full anesthesia, 400 hours of physiotherapy treatments, and almost 20,000 kilometers of swimming. I finally stood up by myself with no help. But I have to say, during the physical rehabilitation, I completely neglected my mental rehabilitation, and there were some serious hard feeling accompanying me. It started with shock, and then it went to denial. I denied the fact that I was injured and my life has changed. And I think during all this process, what I felt more than everything was guilt feelings, sorry. I couldn't help asking myself, why wasn't I more careful? Why did it happen to me? Then I have to say it was my first meeting with the Brothers for Life. My first years after the injury, I wasn't at all connected to Brothers in Life. In the back of my mind, I did everything I could not to deal with the fact that I got injured. I tried to get back to the life I had before as soon as possible, without talking about it, and especially not talking with other wounded soldiers, because I felt this is not for me. I'm over it. I want to leave it behind and move on. And one day, I got a call from Dekel Darachani, which most of you probably knows, and he offered me something I couldn't refuse. He said, listen, there is a delegation to Seattle, and you don't need to do anything, just come and have fun. And I told myself, I'm good at fun, so what can possibly go wrong? And I accepted. Seattle was fun. We were jet skiing. Richard took us to a trip to Cusco. We ate barbecue and beers and drink beers all day. And one day there was a gala event. I remember this moment as a life-altering moment for me. I wasn't not prepared for that. There was lots of fancy dressed people, which I don't know, approaching me and thanking me and telling me I'm a hero. And other members of the BFL started to tell their story, and people around me were crying, and nothing prepared me for that. And at this moment, I just couldn't be there. I went outside to breathe some air, and thoughts were running through my head. And that was the first time for me to start dealing with my mental rehabilitation. This is not me. I thought to myself, I don't need empathy. I don't feel like a hero. I feel more like a loser. And I didn't understand who are these people and what do they want from me. And I was standing outside. I remember this moment, and it's really important for me to share this moment because for me it was really changed my whole point of view about my injury. Sorry. And I was standing outside, and I was confused and agitated. And the only thing I wanted is to get the hell out of there. And then one woman from the community went out and saw me. She noticed that something is wrong and asked me what happened. I told her that this thing is not for me. I'm not a hero, not even close. And I don't need nobody to pity me, and I don't need any empathy from nobody. I'm over me with my injury. It's part of the past for me now. She smiled at me, and with a comforting voice told me, I know you're probably upset and confused, but you have to understand that even if for now you can only see your personal side of your story, but your story is a part of a bigger picture, a picture where there is lots of people that feel grateful for your service. And even if you don't feel it in your day-to-day, in the day-to-day, there is one big community around the world that when you went out there and risked your life, it was for a mutual purpose. This community shares. And these people that you see here are only here to thank you. And for these people, you are a hero, even if you don't feel this way. And I have to say, that was my connection to Brothers for Life. It started just in this moment that I will never forget. And then it hit me, there is a bigger picture than me and my injury and my story. It's just one part of a bigger picture, and this picture is our connection with a huge community around the world that even if we don't live in the same country, we are all one part of a big family, a partnership. And this partnership is so important and so meaningful for me, and I think for most of the BFL members, and I'm sure that it's also meaningful and important for our partners around the world. Now Brothers for Life is a big part of my life. I wanted to show you something very important from Brothers for Life. And this is our progress from last year's, from 1 second. Do you see the, Chemi, do you see it?
Not yet. Try to share screen again.
Here. So as you can probably see, I assume some of you Some of you saw it already. The BFL members is rising. Tons of soldiers are getting their life back on track and finish the physical rehabilitation without, like me, neglecting their mental one, working around the clock to also take care of our day-to-day life and connect us to this partnership with all of our partners around the world. It's a chance for me. I don't have a lot of chances to thank you all and to thank all of BFL friends. I have so many friends from BFL organization, and I have so many friends around the world because of BFL. And it's a chance to thank you all. This was my BFL story. And I can now tell you after 12 years, I can definitely say that both my physical and mental rehabilitation are in good shape. And after all this time, I'm no longer, I'm a little bit the hyperactive child I told you about in the start of my story. But after losing the ability to work with my legs, I understood that now it's time to start using my brain. Today, I'm a certified lawyer, and I'm working as a VP of business development in a publicly traded company, which is getting bigger and bigger every day. And I'm very happy with my job and my day-to-day life. And for the purpose the past speakers was talking about, I'm also an entrepreneur. 5 years ago, I founded a company which runs and operates 3 bars and restaurants in Tel Aviv. Unfortunately, we were the first one to close our gates, and probably because our business works in high volume, we will be the last one to open without getting into politics. I think the Israeli government failed to give us the support we need. But we happen to be very lucky, and Chemi is sending me messages that I need to finish, so I will just tell you a very funny story about what post-trauma and injury is making you in business, and then sometimes it's getting injured in the army teaches you one painful fact about life, and this fact is that every moment things can get really bad. So when I founded the company, I was always insisted that my lease contracts will be as part of the revenues, as a percentage of the revenues, because you can never know what's going to happen, and things can get really, really bad. And this time I was right, and lucky me, my businesses are closed, but because we have no revenues, we don't pay any rent. So we're probably going to survive this crisis. And one more thing I can tell you from being injured in a young age, I learned that from each hard moment in our life, we always getting out stronger. So I'm sure all of us, we will remember this moment, and I hope we will all get stronger from it. And who knows, our life will definitely go back to normal one day. And again, thank you very much for spending the time with us. Thank you very much for letting me speak today.